Hello bass family and welcome to Everything Bass. We're moving on. We are at modes 6 today. And the sixth mode is Aeolian. So we're studying Aeolian. Now this is one of those scales where it has many names. Just like when you have a friend who, maybe a friend named William, and sometimes you call him Will, and sometimes Willie, and sometimes Bill, Billy, and all that stuff. But it's the same guy. Aeolian is also known as the natural minor, pure minor scale. Some people will call it the relative minor scale, which I see where they're getting at, but I would say sticking with the first three, Aeolian, pure minor, and natural minor, is more commonly spoken to musicians all over the world. So let's get into it. First of all, I'm going to show you the intervals. What are the intervals that make up the Aeolian mode? So we're starting on the 5th fret A, then we're going to the B, which is a major second, C, which is a minor third, we're going D, which is a perfect fourth, E, which is the perfect fifth, F, which is the minor sixth, G, the minor seven, and the octave. So by this time, you guys are probably already ahead of me on this. You realize that I said that there was a minor third, a perfect fifth, and a minor seven. So that means that within Aeolian, there is a minor seven arpeggio. And that's very cool because that now tells you some of the times you can use this scale. When you can see where the third, the fifth, and seventh are in any given scale, you can then say, okay, that means it matches up with that chord. So if we have root, minor third, perfect fifth, minor seven, that means this will match any minor triad, minor seven chord, and it's a perfect match. Again, there's some creative ways to like harmonize with it, but we're going to avoid those. We're going to go for the most direct and most common usage of the scales just for the sake of this video. Kind of keep it narrow, focus, master it, then we'll move on to more advanced usage. So let's look at some other ways that you can remember this, because I don't want to just give you one way to remember it. I want to give you multiple ways so that you will hopefully recall it quicker. One is, if you look, you always start on each string with a whole step or a major second interval. So you've got this little box here. So no matter where you start, if I'm here, if I'm up here. So kind of sometimes remembering that each string that you play on a three-string pattern starts with a whole step is one way to remember it. Now, of course, you would add in the minor third and the minor sixth. That's another way. You start by playing a whole step and then a half step. Next string, whole step, half step. That's another way to remember it. The other way is if you look at using this one finger per fret fingering discipline, I never use my middle finger. So that's another way. So if we think in Aeolian, you can go, oh, just don't use my middle finger and you'll be fine. I like also comparing it to other scales that we use. If we look and compare it to Dorian, now here's Aeolian, watch real closely, has a minor six. If I play the same, if I play the A, but I play Dorian, I go up, there is no minor six, there's a major six. But that's the only note that changes. Here's Dorian, here's Aeolian. So the only thing is that major six in Dorian becomes a minor six when you play an Aeolian. So that also kind of gives you a hint of why you would choose this, because they both go over minor seven chords and minor triads. So the question becomes, well, when would I use one, when would I use the other? And it's because of those different notes, or in this case, one different note. Choosing because you want a major six, you would play Dorian. You want maybe that sound and tonality over the chord. Maybe you want a darker sound, so you use the minor six, you'd use Aeolian. Now, if we compare it to Phrygian, which was the third mode that we learned, Phrygian has it starts with a half step. And that's the only difference between it and Aeolian. Phrygian has the minor six, Aeolian has the minor six. So it's Phrygian has a minor two, gives that sound. And then we have Aeolian has the majors two. So once again, when you're trying to make a decision, it would obviously be, do you want a major second in the tonality or the sounds that you're creating, or do you want a minor second? And that would dictate which of those, because they're all three minor scales. You got Phrygian, Phrygian, Dorian, and Aeolian are all minor scales. So it becomes, you can't look at the notes that are similar, obviously, because they're the same. You have to look at what notes are different, and that allows you to make a good conscious decision as when you would use Aeolian versus the other minor modes. Yeah, and so there's Aeolian for you. As always, when I show you a new mode, I really want you to go through that series I did, which is a short series called Things to Do with Scales. If you go to my channel, just search Things to Do with Scales or scroll down and you'll find it. And run any new scale I give you through it. It's a lot of work, but it's the fastest way to internalize a scale and become really free-flowing with it and be able to play it all over the fingerboard, 2-octave fingerings, and all different patterns, rather than just sitting home and doing this. That's okay to a point, but it really is just the very, very, very beginning of really getting that scale into your musicality. The other thing I'd say, besides going through all of the Things to Do with Scales series that I created, is improvise with it. You know, put on a drum machine. There's a lot of free drum apps that you can get, or low-cost drum apps on your phone or iPad. Maybe you can plug that in to an aux in on an amp or something, or use a headphone mixer and be able to play along with it, and just start making up bass lines with only the notes of Aeolian. And that allows you to do what's called fingerprinting. You're creating a special identity that you alone have with that scale. No one can give you, like, I can tell you when I use it, but that might be different from your musicality. So it's more important for you to do it. Okay, yeah, so there's Aeolian. Remember that I've been showing you these modes. If you go back to modes 1, Ionian, and you go all the way through to today, I've done them all in the key of C, which means all the modes I've shown you have no sharps and flats, which means you can practice them in kind of a sequence. C Ionian, D Dorian, E Phrygian, F Lydian, G Mixolydian, A Aeolian, and I could have gone up here and played Aeolian. But that means that you know all the natural notes in that spot. So yet again, another benefit of this is learning your fingerboard, learning how the modes chain together. I get asked sometimes, well, how can I practice the bass, or how can I study music when I'm away from the instrument, I'm at work and things? Well, one thing you can do, there's a lot, and I'll probably do a video for this, but one thing that's really great, if you're standing in line waiting for something, if you're just bored at work, you got on a break at work, is practice saying the order of the modes in the order that I give them to you. You know, memorize Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian. If you can memorize that, then that's you're making yourself a more prepared musician. You know, you'll be more prepared to go into more advanced studies knowing the order that the modes appear from the major key. All right, well, there you have it. That's mode 6. Let's move on to the Encore Item. And right away, the Encore Item is Aerosmith's Toys in the Attic from 1975. I was lucky to have 2 older brothers and 3 older sisters, and it's through them I actually was exposed to a lot of music that I probably wouldn't have at a young age. And so when this album came out, my brother Dan had gotten the actual vinyl, and we shared a bedroom, and he would throw it on. And you know, it's funny, I wanted to pretend I didn't like it because, you know, I think when you're in part of a big family, you're always looking for your own identity. But I really was automatically, even before I was a bass player or a guitar player, I was drawn to Tom Hamilton, the bass player, his bass lines. I just love his bass lines. Of course, you know Walk This Way, you know Sweet Emotion. Both those are iconic for a reason. Sweet Emotion, the bass line's beautiful, and there's a neat contrast. Everyone focuses on the first part of the song, but the last part of the song, the bass line's just crushingly awesome. But also, I really like Round and Round. I think that's really heavy. I think Aerosmith, at times, you know, I think they view themselves as a blues rock band, but man, Round and Round is heavy. I mean, if you listen to that groove, it's cool. I'd love to hear like a modern metal band redo that song. No More, No More, and of course Toys in the Attic is great. From stem to stern, first track to last track, I think it's a great album to check out. Pretty much, I mean, I've been teaching for a long time. I teach students from as young as 12 on up to retirement age. And I haven't met anyone that's not familiar with Aerosmith. But maybe you don't know this album other than the big hits. It was just a big influential album on me, and I wanted to share it with you guys. I think everyone, the drums, the rhythm guitar, lead guitar, vocals, harmonies, I think everything are just this was just what I think is one of their pinnacle albums. And I hope you could check it out. Tom Hamilton deserves a seat at the head table, man. He is a major influencer on rock styles, and his tone's always great. You know, live, rock solid. I mean, just a dependable guy that you could always listen to, and he delivers it every time he straps on the bass. So there you have it, Toys in the Attic. And of course the Aeolian mode. We're almost done. We only have one more in this series where we'll do Locrian. So then you'll be able to kind of review them, go back, watch the videos, practice them, run through the things to do with scales. And whereas you maybe started this series thinking, oh, the modes are hard, I can't deal with the modes, it's over my head. Hopefully I've dispelled all those rumors. That the modes are just scales. And scales just give us colors. And we're matching those colors up to chords. So when we see a chord or a guitarist we're working with or keyboard player says, hey, I'm playing this chord, you'll be able to kind of go through a Rolodex in your mind and say, oh, I could use these scales / modes and play them. We will get into more advanced usage of them, but forget that for now. Let's just look at the direct, easy chord scale relationships between each one of them. Aeolian, minor triads, minor 7 chords. Sounds great. All right, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. I do have neck diagrams for all the modes, so if you go to my Patreon, which is patreon.com/everythingbass, the link is in the description below, and you become a monthly subscriber for Backstage Pass. You get a Backstage Pass. That means you can go to all of my videos, over 100 videos, and anyone that has sheet music or WAV files you can access and download for just $8 a month. In this case, you might want to see the neck diagram and be able to visually see it all laid out. There you have it. I'm so excited to bring these to you. I'm excited we're almost done with them so we can move on to some other areas of theory that I'm excited to show you. Let me know what you think. Have I dispelled any of the fears you had about learning the modes? Are you using them? How are they sounding? Are you preferring one of the minor modes over the other? Are you more of Dorian for most of your playing styles? Do you mostly prefer Aeolian? Are you a Phrygian cat? So these are things I really get interested in. So share them in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like and share it. Hit the little bell icon. Do all those things if you just want to make me happy, because it does make me happy. I really thank you guys for your support. There's no one more I'd rather hang with than our bass players. I think our bass family is awesome. It's been so supportive to me over the many decades I've played, and I'm glad to be part of this community online. All right, guys, I will see you at the next video.